When I rest, I get dumber. If you carefully dig through the literature on the subject of happiness, you can find 3 really solid conditions for happiness. The first of these is work, purposeful, creative, or simply favorite work. When I rest, I get dumber, said Benjamin Franklin. The secret of our misfortunes is, Bernard Shaw wrote, that we have too much leisure to think about whether we are happy or not. When Winston Churchill, who worked 18-hour days in the midst of the war, was asked if he was worried about the huge responsibility placed on him, he replied, "I was too busy to have time to worry." During World War II, the Austrian psychiatrist Viktor Frankl ended up in a concentration camp, Auschwitz. At this point, his manuscript, dedicated to the search for the meaning of life, was not yet finished. Only a passionate desire to complete the book gave him the strength to endure the horrors of camp life. Even when he fell ill with typhus, only the need to constantly write down his notes on the sheets helped him overcome this disease. He would later say of this time, "I saw the meaning of my life in helping others find meaning in their lives." Modern psychologists have come to the conclusion that we are most happy when we are striving for a goal. Or, more simply, everyday work that brings us closer to the intended goal, and not at all the successful completion of the work, gives us the greatest joy of psychological reward. Well, the main factor preventing happiness, scientists call idleness. At the same time, as it turned out, it doesn't matter at all what caused it: laziness, illness, poverty, or on the contrary, financial well-being. English professor Mansell Aylward believes that depression of lack of work is much more dangerous than possible fatigue from overwork. According to statistics, young unemployed men are 40 times more likely to commit suicide than their employed peers. Some experts compare the harm of being out of work for 6 months with the damage that would be caused to a person by smoking 400 cigarettes a day. In addition, adds Aylward, the risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and cancer is many times higher for the unemployed ones. So, the first step to happiness is a favorite job that has a meaningful goal. Or, to put it another way, a meaningful goal that gives meaning to life and is achieved through the work you love. Well, what is the second condition of happiness? There is a Chinese expression, "You need a big heart, not a big room." It is not the environment, not the things, and not the people around us that make us happy, but our attitude towards them. Dale Carnegie put it this way: we are not happy or unhappy because of what we have, or because of who we are, where we are, or what we do. Our state is determined by what we think about all this. Almost all philosophers of the world repeat this: our life is what our thoughts are. Maxwell Maltz in the book Psycho-Cybernetics talks about Dr. John Schindler, who became famous thanks to his unusual method of treating people suffering from neuroses. The essence of this method is the conscious control of thinking. The underlying emotional problems of every patient have the same common denominator, writes Schindler. The problem is that the patient has forgotten how, and most likely never knew how to control his current thinking in such a way that it gives him pleasure. And here is Schindler's definition of happiness. Happiness is a mood in which we are occupied by pleasant thoughts most of the time. One of America's most respected psychologists, William James, gives this advice to anyone who considers themselves unhappy: how often the pain subsides and is replaced by joy when, after vain attempts to get away from suffering, we finally decide to drastically change our position and endure this pain with cheerfulness and optimism. And then these events lose their value for us. Since you make them good or bad in your own thoughts, your main concern should be the direction of your thinking. Conclusion: our happiness depends on our thoughts. And the more often we force ourselves to concentrate on the positive in our life, the happier we are. Thanks for watching. Like this video and subscribe to the channel.